And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're here because we want you to have success, just like you're having in the rest of your life when it comes to our health. You don't need superhuman strength. What you need is a strategy you can trust. You need a plan you can follow, and you need the determination and the consistency and the support to show up every single time. Well, welcome, welcome. Whatever platform you're joining us from, Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitch or Twitter, any of those platforms, of course, here on YouTube. Thank you for coming through. And then whatever place you're in, whatever city, town, village, even whatever country, thank you for coming through and hanging out with us as we continue a time of health. We are right here, right now at 24 hours. Can you believe it? 24 hours into this week's fast. Those of you who are joining us, if you joined us yesterday into today, congratulations. If you're ending your fast, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But also a special shout out to our accelerator members. Thank you for coming through and hanging out with us and being in this space. We are so excited that you're here. Let's hop in. We're going to take a look at some things here. I've got my monitor off to the side. My continuous monitor is off to the side. We'll take a look at what my blood sugars are. And then we'll have a little conversation, not a little conversation, but a conversation about some few things. All right. If you have not done so, before we get there, if you've not done so, you want to make sure that you are keeping up with our Foundation series. Remember, we started the new season. The Foundation series comes out on the week before, and then on Dwain Woode MD Live on Monday at 7 p.m. is when we implement that. We look at our lives. We see if we can identify ourselves in those things that we're learning about, and how do we make this integrated into our life. That's the whole idea, because I love the fact that you're listening. I love the fact that you're liking. I love the fact that you're commenting. But what I want even more is to see this implemented in your life so that you can have success, okay? So Foundation series comes out the week before, usually on Wednesdays. And then our Dwain Woode MD Live on Monday at 7 p.m. is where we sit and we look at that. We put it on the microscope and say, how do I take that now, that theory, that concept, that idea, and how do I make that practical for me on Monday morning and Tuesday morning and Wednesday and Thursday, Friday and Saturday morning, because that's what we want to do. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at my numbers. As you know, if you were here with us yesterday, we started our fast yesterday afternoon after my meeting that I normally have with my team. We showed you what my blood sugars were at the time. You saw what I ate, and if you've not looked at that, go back and you can get to see what I ate as my last meal. And by the way, yesterday was my birthday, right? You guys remember that? Well, not yesterday was my birthday. Yesterday I had birthday cake here on the show. So let's take a look and let's see what that is showing right now. So right now, as we're looking, you're seeing this is my Freestyle Libre, and my blood sugar right now is 72. It's 72 right now, and we are 24 hours, right at 24 hours into this week's fast. So I can take my finger and I can scroll through. You see that right there? I can scroll through and you'll see what those numbers have been. 78, 78, 79, 70s as we got into today. This is the last 12 hours, by the way. And down, 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 down. And so here we are right now at 72 hours, 72 for blood sugar, 72 into this week's fast. I'm going to go ahead, and this is not a part of the fasting right now, but just so you could see what's been happening with my blood sugars, my average blood sugar and my time in range. So I'm in range 95% of the time. Down at the bottom right here, you'll see that there are 5% of the numbers have been low, and those lows are usually below 70. That typically happens when I'm fasting. Now, we've not seen that quite yet for this fast, but we're expecting to see those numbers drop below 70 as we continue into the fast. Okay, so 95% in target, 5% low blood sugars, which tends to happen when I'm fasting. Average blood sugar now, 90 is what my average blood sugar is, and that's that line right about there. And this is for the last 90 days. And what I love about this is that right here, I get to look at what my blood sugars are running over the course of several parts of the day. And I get to make a decision based on what's happening right here, how I regulate the day. That's a conversation that we need to have, and we're going to have that. But I regulate what I do as I go through the day, not based on how I'm feeling at the time, but I'll look at the numbers and I'll say, okay, these are what the numbers are, and I can adjust what I do. Okay. The last thing here on this one is if I go down to the bottom and I look at my 90-day GMI, so glucose management indicator. Now this is a marker, a surrogate, if you will, for the A1C. We can't call it an A1C because it's a calculated number, but based on the last 90 days worth of blood sugar, what this device is telling me, I would expect my A1C to be a 5.6. Now I'm getting labs in another 3-4 weeks, so we'll be able to see what those numbers are, or what the A1C is, as we think back over this. And so what I do when I get my blood work, I get a screenshot of the Dexcom, which I will see in a minute. I get a screenshot of my Libre. I get a finger stick, right, from a glucose monitor, and usually it's the Contour. And I keep that so that when I get my blood work, I can correlate that so that you get to see what that is. We'll need to go back and do the last set of labs that I did. But anyway, so this is, see, you got all kinds of stuff. This is the benefit of showing up on the live. All right, so this is what my blood sugar is right now according to the Libre. If I go over to my Dexcom, and you'll see right now my Dexcom says that my blood sugar is 94. As you know, meters can be about 20% different from each other. And so my Dexcom tends to be about 20, 25, maybe sometimes 30 points different from what I see on my Libre. And right now we're about 20 points. So that one said, what did it say? 70 to 90. Okay, so about 20 points. A little less than 20, but that's okay. A little more than 20. That's not there you go. Okay, here we are. And so this is what my blood sugar is right now. And once again, I can take my finger and over the last 12 hours, actually let's do 24 hours because that's where we are. So right in here, right in there yesterday was when I ate the carrot cake for my birthday. And you'll see right there, my blood sugar at the time was about 110. And over the course of the next several hours, we jumped up to 180 there. We dipped down to about 140, I think 142. You're right. I keep it right. It's right in there. So 142, and then it came back up, and then came down, and started going where we see it right now. So between what I ate, about 130, and that's 230 and 330. So 2 hours, right? It was below 200. And then by the time we got to 4:30, we're now 3 hours later, 136. And 5:30, we're now 4 hours. 5:30, about 110. So we're back down to where we started prior to eating the birthday cake. And then, of course, we continued into where we are right now. For the Libre, if I go to my summary and go to 90 days, I'll see that it says that right now my average blood sugar over the last 90 days, 123, with a GMI, or glucose management indicator, of 6.2, okay? All right, so I love that, I love that, love that. And let's see, I do see some of our community members out there. Let me do one thing really quickly. And I need to get this up so I can grab it when I see you guys pop up. We're still getting this. And as you see, I am not in my studio. I'm in the office. And so we're doing a little bit more things over here in the office so that we can come to you and we can hang out a little bit more. And what I'm looking for is, here it is. So let's do, there we go. Let's get that out of the way. And we're looking for this one right here so I can put those comments up. There we go. Oops, I thought, yeah, there it is. All right, so let's see. So I see Cornelia out there. What's up? First of all, I see Jennifer. Jennifer, what is going on? Jennifer, thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. She said, howdy all. And Cornelia is saying hello. Jennifer says, QQQ, should I fast while actively having a cold? Very good question. Very good question there. Oh, my head is cut off, but that's okay. I'm going to hold on to that for a second there, Jennifer. We'll come back to that in a minute. And then she said, head cold, filled, running sinuses, sore throat, and slight headache. Okay, so I'm gonna hold on to those two for a second. We'll come back and we'll answer those here in just a minute. Okay. Well, yeah. So we're just excited to see you guys out there. Excited that you are here hanging out with us. So I've got to adjust this scene so that my head's not cut off, but that's okay for right now. We'll let that happen. So let's get back over here. All right. So what I want yesterday, by the way, we talked a little bit about flexibility, and actually this goes right in line with a question Jennifer's asking right now. And so her question is, hey, I'm having a cold, I'm having a head cold, my sinuses are filled, my nose is running, I've got a sore throat, and I've got a slight headache. Should I fast while I'm doing that? And I'm going to answer the question in two ways. One, I'm going to kind of give a general overview, general concept of fasting. Remember, fasting is a tool, and we use the tool when we need the tool. And we are using the fasting for a specific reason. We're using fasting to reset our metabolism. We're using fasting, maybe some people are trying to lose weight. We're trying to get better blood sugars. We're trying to improve our fatty liver, right? So all of those things, that's what the issue is, and fasting falls in line, and fasting does that for us. So we pick the tool up when we need it. We put the tool down when we don't need it at the time. Or, as you see, I do a fast once a week. In this season of my life, that is what my schedule is. One of the points that we will make going forward as we go through the season is the idea that there are seasons. If you guys remember back in our last year, we did a series called Play Your Own Game. And the concept of playing your own game was that we all are heading to the same destination, metabolic health, but we're getting there in different ways. So play your own game. Okay, so back to Jennifer's question. So Jennifer, the idea there is, or the principle, so the principle is that we are using fasting for a reason to reset metabolism. So if the fasting conflicts with what's going on, for example, if you are sick and you are not able to function well, and you're weak and tired and you're in bed and so forth, then fasting during that time is likely not the right thing to do. So, get through the illness, and then we bring fasting back in as we get through that. And it's like anything else we do, there are things that we put down because something else takes priority. So right now the priority is for you to be healthy. Now, having said that, it is not that you cannot fast when you're ill. It depends on what the illness is and what's going on in your body. Remember, we're always listening to our bodies. So if my body is telling me, hey, right now we can't keep up the healing process and fast at the same time, then guess what? Fasting goes off to the side while the body does what it needs to do. And then when that's better, then we pick fasting back up. And that is not I've fallen down, I can't maintain, or there's something wrong. This is a simple logistics issue. And I'm gonna pivot for a minute, same idea. One of the times when I have to talk with people and patients and clients is when there is something major going on in the family. There's a wedding, there's a birth, there's a loss in the family, and people during that time, their energies are being put into dealing with whatever the issue is. And they also are stressing about food and stressing about blood sugar and stressing about fasting, for example. And so what I tell them is, I don't want you to divide your energies. Right now, your energies need to be going into dealing with whatever the issue is, dealing with whatever situation is, dealing with whatever season the family is in. Let's put our energies there. Not totally ignoring what's going on the other side in terms of our health and metabolism, but there are some things that we do for our health that can't be maintained during the time when we're in that particular season. Okay, so same kind of idea. And so for you, Jennifer, yeah, so that's the idea. The principle is that it's a tool. We put it down when we don't need it, or when there's something else that takes priority, and then we pick it back up when we need it. Not that you can't fast when you're ill. It just depends on what's going on in your particular situation. Okay, that was a long way to answer your question. Hopefully that answers the question for you. Okay, so one of the other things, one of the other places that we sometimes will have issues or questions is when it comes to what's going on in terms of my fast and in terms of my blood sugar. Okay, and one of the primary places where sugar comes from, other than food, is that sugar comes from our liver. Remember, we eat food, the body stores it for later, that's our pantry, and it stores it in the refrigerator, that's our liver, and then it puts some in the pantry. Pantry would be the fat cells. When we're fasting, fasting does not mean that there is no sugar being produced in the body. Fasting simply means that we are not adding more sugar, we're not adding more carbs, we're not adding more calories to our system. But the body itself, within its mechanisms, has the ability to make sugar. As you know, when we're not fasting, the body uses up the sugar that's in the blood, and then it goes to the liver and it begins pulling out the glycogen that's there. That's sugar. And if we go fasting long enough, the body then turns to beta oxidation, which is where it goes to the fat cells, and it begins breaking those cells down into glycerol and free fatty acids. And that glycerol part, that's sugar. Okay? So the body has the ability to make sugar. So it's not that when you fast, there is no sugar. There's no sugar added to the system, but the body within itself has the ability to create sugar. And that's why sometimes people will see their fasting and their blood sugar will rise in the morning, during stress times, during illness even. And they say to themselves, wait a minute, wait, Dr. Woode, they talk to me. They say, well, I'm fasting. Why is my blood sugar going up? Because fasting does not equal no sugar. It just means that we're not putting sugar in. And that's a beautiful thing because it gives the body the opportunity to tap into, to access some of the other forms of sugar that's in the system, that's in our body, that's stored. That's where we get some of those benefits, right? Like weight loss and improved liver and improved insulin sensitivity. All of that comes because we are not adding more to the system, and we're allowing the body to do what it needs to do in terms of pulling out the excess that's there. Okay, so remember the first 12 hours or first 6 hours really, that's our postprandial period. So that is the body's simply saying, okay, I didn't get anything for the last 6 hours. And then once that's done, then we begin to see blood sugars in the blood going down. But it doesn't happen until 24 to 36 hours that we've used up all the glycogen that's in the liver. And it's at that point then we turn to what's called beta oxidation, where the body is now breaking down the fat cells. Now, one of the things that I love to see, and when I look at my numbers, I'm looking at ketones, and we're not looking at ketones right now. I look at ketones, I look at what my blood sugar is, because I know if my blood sugar is low and I have ketones, those ketones had to come from somewhere. And those ketones are telling me that my body's tapping into the fat cells and is breaking them down. And that's where ketones come from, because the body is doing the beta oxidation. Okay, so 24 to 38 hours, 24 to 36 hours is where we get the glycogen going away. Okay, just a comment. So your liver is not malfunctioning if it is working. Pause for a second. If your liver is producing sugar, it's not malfunctioning. It's actually doing what it was designed to do. Its job is to provide you with energy when you're not taking energy in. The problem is that because of the metabolic dysfunction, the system gets gunked up. And so while the liver is doing what it's supposed to do, sometimes it is the body's responding in a way to the sugar that's coming out that is not the way we expect it to, or way we want it to respond. Or if there is liver dysfunction, right, fatty liver and all those things that we talk about, then we can see abnormalities in the flow of sugar coming out of the body or coming out of the liver. Okay, so the liver is working; it is not doing something that is bad, right? Once again, so fasting does not mean zero glucose production; it means controlled production. It means we're not putting anything else into the system. Okay, so many people will see stable numbers, or they might see some rises, and that is normal if your body is still accessing sugar. Couple of comments I want to make. One is this idea of the dawn phenomenon. And people will see that the dawn phenomenon is where in the morning, in order to get you up and get you going and get you ready for the day, the body pumps us full of hormones. And those hormones are designed to get you going. And getting you going means getting energy. And energy in the body is sugar. So when the body is getting ready to wake you up, then it will pump those hormones into your body, and we will see those numbers rise in the morning. Now, it happens to everybody on the planet. Let me say that again. You're not special because you have a dawn phenomenon. Everybody on the planet has the rise in blood sugar. The problem or the issue for diabetics is, one, we're watching it, we're monitoring it. We got all these monitors that tell us it's there. Number two, the body does not know how to manage sugar. It doesn't matter whether you ate the sugar or whether the sugar comes from the cortisol that's tapping into the energy sources, or the sugar is coming from stress, or the sugar is coming from illness. It doesn't matter where the sugar is coming from. Your body doesn't know how to handle the sugar. That's the whole idea of metabolic reset that we're doing with fasting. Because fasting helps us to begin correcting all of those different things. So the dawn phenomenon is that rise that we see with blood sugars in the morning as the body's pushing, getting us ready to wake up, and is pumping us with those hormones, right? If your glucose rises at 24 hours, it's often a regulatory signal, not a physiologic signal. It's a regulatory signal, meaning that the body is doing what the body's doing what it's supposed to do. It's just because there's dysfunction, metabolic dysfunction, that we see that abnormal or pronounced rise, if you will, for the blood sugars that happen. Okay. And then let's talk a little bit about fat mobilization. So at 24 hours, hormone-sensitive lipase activates, it increases. And so we begin breaking down fatty acid. We begin breaking down the fat. And that's where we get the free fatty acid and the glycerol. And glycerol sounds like glycogen, sounds like glucose, and that's where sugar comes from. So when the body's breaking down fat, so even in the fat breakdown component, you can still have a rise in sugar because it is taking that fat cell and breaking it into its constituent components, free fatty acid, which goes on to make the ketones, and the glycerol, which goes on to make sugar. So just because you're fasting doesn't mean that you can't have that. And when we look at my blood sugars, and you may have seen this with yours as well, you will see that sometimes my blood sugar will go down to 67, it'll come up to 70, it'll go down to 62, it'll come up to 73, right? And so people will ask me, well, if you're fasting, why does that happen? Well, that happens, why? Because the body still has access to produce sugar from glycogen, from fatty acid, okay? So this is where metabolic switch becomes visible internally, even if you can't feel it yet. So the body regulates based on the reset that we're doing. So when we're fasting, as we get better at fasting, as we get more efficient at fasting, then the body does this metabolic switch where the system begins to normalize so that we don't have these huge swings that we see when the body is not regulated. Had someone come in to talk to me today who was a new diabetic, and the concept that I wanted to make sure that we understood was that as a new diabetic, when those blood sugars are high, just because you tomorrow or today decide that you're going to change what you eat doesn't mean that tomorrow the blood sugar is good, because the body has to get rid of all the sugar that's in the blood, and it has to begin regulating if we're going to have long-term control. In that initial point, our goal is really not long-term control. Let me pause there for a minute because I want you to get this. When I see somebody in that initial visit, the goal is immediate containment. That is, how do we stop the damage from being done right now? We're not trying to paint the walls and bring new furniture. We're not trying to fix the house up. We're not trying to decorate. We've not hired an interior decorator. All we're trying to do is stop the house from burning down. Because once the house is there, the house has been saved, then we can begin beautifying it. So the first visit, the first time that we're encountering management of diabetes, it is to stop the damage that's being done right then, right at that time. And then we come back and say, okay, now let's go and let's pretty some things up. Does that make sense? All right. Let's see what else. Let's see. Oh, I see one of the other community members out there. So Teresa, what's going on, Teresa? Teresa is hanging out with us. Thank you for coming through. And let's see, where is that? Okay, here it is. So what's going on, Teresa? Hey, Dr. Jennifer and Cornelia. And Jennifer saying hi to Teresa. Thank you for coming through, and thank you for hanging out with us right now, Teresa. So good to see you. All right. So we are right now in our fast in 24 hours. So kudos to those of you who ended the fast today. You fasted with us starting yesterday, and you ended your fast in 24 hours. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. For those of you who are starting today, kudos, because you are now embarking on an amazing process. If you've not fasted before and this is your first time, man, my hat's off to you. Wish I had a hat. We've got some hats over there across the room. But my hat's off to you. And what I want to do is, if you are fasting anytime this week, you fasted already, you ended the fast, you're starting the fast now, or you are planning to start a fast this week, I want you to go ahead and put me in the comments. But if you finish your fast, go ahead and put how long you fasted. Right now, we are 24 hours into this week's fast as we move into this, or through this space of being healthy. Remember y'all, fasting is a tool. We get to control the tool. Good point, right? I've never had, and if it happens, it's going to be some issues going on. If my hammer that's out in the garage ever starts floating through the house and just putting nails and stuff in walls, we got a problem. The hammer doesn't work without me. I get to make the decision about what I do with the hammer. And just like that, you get to make the decision about what you do with fasting. It is a tool. It is not a confinement. It's not a jail. It's not something to be locked up. It's not punishment. It is a tool that we're using to fix a metabolic problem in our bodies. All right, so glad that that I'm here with you. We will be back tomorrow as we continue our fast. Make sure you come join us for the pop-up. Keep an eye out for our foundation series, which will come out later today, perhaps tomorrow morning, but later today. And then on Monday, we will have our flagship show, Dwain Woode MD Live, 7 p.m. Central, right here on the channel. On Saturday night at 9 p.m., we have this video from the vault at 9 p.m. This Week in Review will be on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. As always, I'm glad to be here, glad to see the benefits that you're getting. Thank you for joining me. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. Remember, I want you to have the success in your health just like you're having in all the other areas of your life. You don't need superhuman strength. All you need is a strategy you can trust. You need a plan you can follow, and you need the support and determination to show up intentionally for all those important events and all those important people in your life. Thank you for hanging out with us, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.